Tony, welcome to Miscellaneous Next Fest. We've never actually started recording a Steam Next Fest video by starting with the most random games. Some of these games were so fucked up that we couldn't even categorize them.
I guess in terms of actually recording it, like it was categorized that this was like you couldn't put it in.
Whenever we do Tangerine videos, I almost always upload them in the order we record them for some reason. But we usually record them in the ones that I've played the longest ago, so it makes sense.
Yeah, I feel that makes sense.
But Tony, so we're going to start. I've been playing Steam Next Fest, and this is miscellaneous. Other than that, I've been playing a couple of movement games and some roguelites. But this is, this is building relationships, and it's a house dating sim / slice of life game. I think I originally saw this at I think it was at OTK or one of the cozy game festivals at one at E3, and I was like, this looks so fucking weird that I have to check this out.
I feel like they've got deliberate aliasing.
Yeah, it has that very much. There was no like resolution options. I think you had to play it in 720p, like. But that was some of the things with the demos was it was hard to get it looking like I wanted to, like, if a demo is like, look, we're going for a retro aesthetic, I wouldn't fuck with it. It's like you want your game to be in 4:3, you want your game to be in 720p. Well, fair enough.
Yeah, sure. But it might still be like doing it wrong, or like it's stretching it weirdly, right? Which I've had.
I've been having, since I've moved to a 4K screen, I've been having so many issues with games coming up in the incorrect resolution, and it's because I have 150% scaling in Windows, and the reason is if I don't have scaling on Windows, it just completely makes everything tiny for me on my 4K screen. But then whenever I start a game, it's like, oh,
the game should
a lot of games will use your desktop resolution as your base resolution. And a lot of games think that if I have 150% scaling of 4K, that I'm playing in 1440p, which I am not.
I've not actually done this, but I've seen people. I've watched developers like talk about this. I'm pretty sure they're calling the wrong function to like Windows to get the resolution. Like there is a proper thing that tells it the correct resolution.
But the thing is, there has been some games where like. It's hard to describe, but basically the image is stretched across multiple monitors in the wrong resolution. And the only way I can fix it is by like turning off my other monitors and then launching it on a single monitor and then changing the resolution there.
Recently I had a really awful situation. It was this is okay.
The reason I'm
why borderless should be on by default.
Yeah, I was just say the reason I'm talking about this is because with demos, this stuff happens all the time. I'm constantly fighting settings in demos.
I guess I'll quickly say on the demos side, like some demos are more not done than others. I'll say they have more features that come later. Some are like we've done, but we've now got the demo out ready and we're just polishing it now, sort of thing, or we're polishing later levels. But yeah, some demos are very much this is our second pass, say, and it's not all the options are in yet. But I had a problem recently. It was like it was in borderless, like Windows borderless by default. I accidentally changed it, and immediately it's one of those where it immediately updates the settings. And it's like, oh god, it stretched out. I click back, so it stretches out, and then awkwardly minimizes because it's like Windows is doing some crazy stuff. I click it again, it does crazy stuff, and then it minimizes again. It's like, and I've had it before where like if it's I guess it's full stream by default with some games, like I can't get into it without doing INI edits or like other like weird hacks.
Okay, so
that's why it should be first.
Let's talk about building relationships. I went into this and I was like, oh, it's going to be like a funny house dating sim, and the game I got was you like Katamari roll around an island and have random conversations with houses that don't really seem to go anywhere. You can also fish, which I did not do because I was like, I don't want to fish. And then I was like, okay, because I was trying to talk to the houses and like get into this relationship stuff because it's called building relationships. And the game was like, no,
build up the affection.
At least the demo was like, no, you need to go here and talk to this character, and it kept pushing me down a path. So I'm like, okay, sure. I keep getting pushed down this path, and it just turned into flatback. I was just building flat pack furniture. That was like the big climax of it. Look, like, I'm not joking.
Okay.
It's like
that's something you should do. Like once you move into you merge two houses together, and like your first thing you do is to do flat pack furniture. It's like an
because everyone houses and they're having a
relationship.
They're having a picnic, right? And I guess this is the food is a flat pack furniture. But this was the most fun I had in the game, was just building random flat pack furniture. I'm like, I don't know what this game's about.
Yeah, I'm a bit confused.
Because it's just walking around having uninteresting conversations with people who are supposedly you're supposed to like try and date or something, but there wasn't like any dating in the fucking demo from what I could tell from. Because I was like, okay, either it's going to be like a more serious dating thing or it's going to be like a comedy thing, and it just had neither. Yeah. And I'm just like, I'm really not sure that
being really serious.
I was really not sure about the way this game wanted to go, and it just kind of ended. And I was like, okay. That's building relationships, I guess. Then next up...
I'm a bit... No, I was watching you build the flat pack the building. Or flat pack the...
Next up we have Butcher's Creek. This is the new David Szymanski game. If you don't know David Szymanski, he is the guy behind stuff like Iron Lung and Dusk. He works a lot with New Blood. And he makes like weird horror games, I would say, mostly. Very like tonal atmosphere kind of games, and this is essentially a horror game where you're sort of inside a snuff film, I would say is the best way to describe this game. You're basically in the middle of the forest, and it's shot like you are on like a VCR camera. And because it has this very like heavy filtering.
Nice. Yeah. I'm seeing. I was like, oh, it's like an old school, but I'm seeing it now. It's not quite as grainy, but like,
yeah, it has these heavy like VHS, but it's also like tied into. It's tied into the theming where you find these like rednecks walking around like these abandoned buildings, and you find notes about them saying like, the boss says we're not supposed to know each other's names and we're supposed to be hurting these people. And you're just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, it seems like a bunch of people have been like hired to partake in some sort of murder stuff film thing, yeah. And basically you've wandered into the... Because another thing in the game that I was like, oh, am I sort of like a detective? In order to heal in this game, you take photos of evidence, and evidence is like torture scenes. And again, like that to do with like photography and filmography, it's this aspect of like physically taking photos. And of course, it's also like, you know, in survival horrors, they have like the ink ribbons in Resident Evil in order to
you have to find safe.
You have to use the physical resource of the ink ribbon in order to save.
They just became find the save point without the ribbon, but yeah.
This game has videotapes. You put a videotape into a cassette player, and that's how you save the game. And the tapes are limited.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also there's.
Got stuff on. Like, are you finding evidence again?
No, the evidence is more to do with the camera, like an actual flash photography camera that you can take out.
So I guess. The idea of saving is that you're recording all of this. The game that you're playing, like you're recording on a VHS.
Yeah, it's very like immediately. I think the atmosphere in this game is amazing. Like literally, I would hear like a random sound. I would turn around and be like, "What the fuck is that?"
Yeah,
like it is. Yeah. It's incredibly slow paced as well. So the tapes are literally called snuff films in this game.
Yeah.
Also, I will point out, Tony, there is a bar of soap in this game. I don't know if you remember, but when I was playing Dusk, I was like, the bar of soap is always the best weapon in the game. You pick it up and you throw it at people and they just get gibbed.
Slip and slide.
But also with the tapes, it's kind of a resource, because sometimes you need a certain amount of tapes to open a door. There'll be like these weird like cult boxes that you have to put a VHS, like 2 VHS tapes in, so you might not have enough VHS tapes in order to like save and go through the door, for example. And then also the combat, it's a really like slow combat, so every single weapon has degradation. Think like obviously it's nothing like this, but think like Breath of the Wild, where every time you use a weapon, it's got like slowly over time it starts to break and it's like deals less damage, and it's like, well, this isn't very useful.
I think you have to do that when it's like, if every single like human enemy kind of has to be somewhat dangerous. I feel like that makes sense.
But I think it makes it really interesting because like you start off and you find these hammers and you're like, oh, this is a nice weapon, but suddenly it falls out. But then as the game opens up and you get more enemies, suddenly you're kind of forced to like rapidly switch between items you find. And remember Going Under, the like office roguelite, where you had to like constantly pick up like office chairs and then throw them, and then you would be like, now I have a stapler and I'm going to fight with it. It's kind of like that, where when a weapon's like out of durability, you can like throw it away. So this is the camera system. I took a photo of a murder scene here, and that healed me for some reason. Don't ask me why.
I just want to quickly say, you turned like in the save area before, is like where the TV was. Like, I actually appreciate that you turned the lights on to like kind of show that you've been there. I feel like more dark games should have that sort of system.
Well, I also wanted to.
I've been here before.
Oh, so here's the thing: holding tapes will increase your maximum health. So holding onto more tapes makes you more powerful.
Oh,
but then if you use a tape to save, you get less health. And then also there's certain doors you want to go through. So there's like a tapes. So it's like it's bringing this like
hardcore.
It's sort of like survival horror, I would say, where you need to like manage resources. Like weapons have durability like resources. Tapes are like your health and resources. Being a detective of crime scenes is how you heal. Like, it's a very strange game, but it's also very intriguing, I would say. I thought this game was one of the better games that I played during the demo festival. Obviously, it's no surprise coming from such a popular developer like David Szymanski. He's done a lot of this like creepy horror stuff before, but I think he did a really good job. The only thing I think I would say is some of the AI of the enemies was kind of not the greatest. Where sometimes I would be like, they were kind of dumb, and then also I would go around a corner, but they would be able to see me through a wall, and then they would keep swinging at me through a wall and stuff. And there was kind of like edge cases like that, but that's just some basic like AI design stuff,
Sure, yeah.
But yeah, this game is just dripped in like VHS snuff film cult. It is a slow-paced first-person melee slasher, and it is very intriguing. I love how there's just like broken glass everywhere, so you can accidentally walk on it, and there's just the enemy. So the enemy stuff. I thought all of the enemies were going to be wearing the same thing, because they all seem to be wearing like this red lumberjack shirt and like mask, but then like it starts to open up and there's different enemies, and it seems like based on the screenshots there's like even more places to go than just like this redneck basement. So I'm really interested to see where this game actually ends up going. Like, I think like they did a lot of really good stuff, like the idea of broken glass, because there is like you can sneak up on enemies, and the idea of just leaving stuff that falls over when you open doors, and showing you like, oh, there's a room over here that has like a photograph you might want.
A lot of false positives or enemies, like, just sounds like, oh, that could be something.
Well, another great thing is like
makes you scared.
When you pull out the camera, you have to drop your flashlight, and then suddenly you just have that flash of light, and all you can see is like for a brief second what's in front of you. Yeah. Oh, I tried to take a photo of the dirty mag, but I didn't get any points for that. It's not the original Dead Rising. There's no erotica points. I should just walk. I should just walk around, but bonus. I should just walk around Butcher's Creek. But I've shot for wars,
that would be great.
But yeah, this is one of two Szymanski games we're going to be talking about on this Steam Next Fest video. So let's check out the next game. Okay, so the next game is, Tony, you know me, it's not a Next Fest unless I play a weird mini golf game. And
I've got a mini golf game.
Yes, but the game starts with you like mandatorily having to scan for VHS channels, like scan video channels that give you this weird like so you pull up the clipboard and it's like you need to search for this, and it's like it's trying to hint at this deeper story that's going on, but I spent like the game literally starts with 10 minutes of like forced world building like video signal scanning for a game about mini golf, and I'm like, damn, if I was making a mini golf game, I would probably start with mini golf.
Yeah, and okay. I'm bamboozled already then.
But yeah, I was so fucking confused because they're trying to set up this like weird scientific thing, and I spent like, you can like scan it, you know, skip ahead and pause things, and I think they're trying to do a system where they're trying to hide stuff. It's meant to like intrigue and be like, oh, we're gonna hide secret levels inside this stuff. But personally, I was just really unengaged by this stuff. I was like, oh, I kind of just want to play the golf part. Because I'll skip ahead because there's a lot of this. But here's the actual golf part. So you're playing golf, sort of what feels like inside the video player, right? And it's sort of just boring, uninspired mini golf. So I guess like the video stuff is like what they have going for them, but I'm really not engaged with that. So I think this mini golf was kind of a bust for me. I wasn't really interested in this game. So as I like to try and do with games I'm not that interested in, I like to try and talk about stuff that I am. So let's go on to the next one. Neverlooted Dungeon. I actually quite like this. Tony, I feel like having played Thief in the past, I think like maybe 2 years ago, the original Thief from like 1998, I was like, man, this game holds up so fucking well. And we do not see like anything like this in modern day. Like there is immersive sims in our modern day, but there is nothing that has the atmosphere and the actual like gameplay of Thief. It is just slow, empty buildings just moving around trying to find loot. And
yeah, it's not the same.
Yeah, this game, Neverlooted Dungeon, I think did a really good job of picking up. You just pick up random wheels of cheese to eat and stuff, like just random shit like that, where you can just interact with anything and just see what it does, right?
Makes you feel immersed.
Yeah, this is like
the other thing that the original theater is like it had like different obstacles. Is like, and then like, oh, here's the toolbox, you solve it, right? So this has something. This is similar to.
I want to go back on this area because I was like, oh, this is like an immersive sim. I wonder if I could just randomly stack things and climb up here, because I don't think I can get up here normally. And it's like, yep, you can, which I thought was really, really cool. But yeah, it is nice to see more like immersive sims directly inspired by stuff like Thief. I know we have stuff like Gloomwood, but even Gloomwood is much more like enemy heavy and like a lot more stuff's going on. This game was like there was almost no enemies for the most part. It was like, I don't know, go back and play the original thing. And I love that I went up and explored here, and it's like, oh, you get an explorer's trophy because you actually went out of your way to go up here and have a look around, which I was like, oh, that's really cool.
So like, as you inventories, you have to like bring it back. Or... Yeah.
So the way difficulty, obviously, you know, janky ladders. That's a great feature of old games. Thief was one of the first ever games to have a mantle system. So this game, and I love how it has the janky mantle system of like Thief, where it's like, huh, and you like slowly pull yourself up. And because like Thief was, and I think Thief and Metal Gear were some of the defining games for the stealth genre. Like,
yeah, for sure.
There's the Iron Kisses I pick up. So this place is just like littered with traps everywhere. There's like slabs you walk on, and they will activate a trap that will, send out spikes, or basically everyone who owns a castle either knows exactly where their traps are, or they are just constantly dying over and over again. Because I don't understand how you would live somewhere like this.
I assume they left the castle. They're like, right, set up the traps while I'm gone.
So like, playing the demo, I didn't encounter a single human enemies. There was lots of like giant rats and a fish at one point. I was like, but that's very like, because the first thief goes like very hard into like supernatural stuff. Where it's like it starts off and you're just you're just robbing random castles, and then suddenly it's like, oh, I need to break into the mines to get this guy out of prison, and I keep reading all these things saying about these weird zombie creatures that live in the mines, and you're like, well, that can't be true, right? And then you go into the mines and you find the holy water, and you're like, oh shit, there's stuff in the mines. And I'm wondering like what direction this is going to go, and it seems like it's trying to do a mixture of the both. This game also has a degradation system when it comes to weapons, so you have to like pick up stuff and cycle it, and like inventory management is important.
Being prepared and going out and finding, encourage you to find stuff just in case, right?
But it's like, I was like, this is an obvious trap, and I was like, yep. But I think I was playing on the easy difficulty because it said for new players, and I'm like, I've never played this game before. Of course I'm a new player, but maybe I should have put it on the normal difficulty because I have played the entirety of Thief before. So I've played what is clearly the inspiration for this game, because I think it was a lot more obvious to see the traps when because they do make them stand out a bit more in this difficulty. The way they did difficulty in the original Thief was interesting. The way they did it was you had like a bunch of objectives, and your difficulty changed like what objectives you had to do. So in like the easiest difficulty, you would basically have to go in and do the main objective and get out. But then on the higher difficulties, there would be a bunch of stuff that you could steal optionally. And on the higher difficulties, it was mandatory. And you would always want to steal as much as possible in Thief, because then you can sell more at the shop. And when you sell more at the shop, you can bring more equipment in with you. Which was always like an interesting thing. So you're always like rewarded for exploring more and trying to find more. Of course, there was a crossbow that shot arrows at enemies, and then there was also a crossbow that shot ropes, which I thought was really cool. I didn't see any water arrows though. I don't know if there is any water arrows.
Set out the lights.
Yeah. One thing I did notice was there was these beds, and when you went over them, they would save the game. But every time you went over them, they would like completely freeze the game, and I'm just like, oh, okay, that doesn't feel great when you're playing. I get that it's like, pausing the game to save, but I feel like you can do that in the background these days.
Yeah.
But yeah, everything in this game is very like tactile and movable. It is a very immersive sim-ass game. And I love like there's almost no direction in, like, apart from obviously the giant arrows at the beginning and be like, this is the tutorial, this is how you play the game. Once you get into this castle, it's like, hey, you're in a castle, figure it out. And I just loved that there was multiple directions to go. I have no idea what happens if you touch this wire, because I fortunately saw it before I interacted with it. And maybe it like cuts the bridge and you fall down.
Yeah.
Because my immediate thought was, you can buy life. So you have a gold system, and you can use gold to buy stamina pots and health pots, which is quite cool. Much more of an expansive combat system than the original Thief. Like, enemies would pretty much laugh at you at Thief if you actually tried to fight them one-on-one. I don't know what it's like fighting humans, but like rats were pretty easy to kill with the sword.
So these vending machines, what's going on?
Yeah, so you have to put 10 gold coins into them, and then you can get a life potion, which will heal you. Food you can take, which will heal you, but it doesn't heal you very much. But I wanted to quickly show you. Sorry if this is. There's some crossbow. I wanted to show you the well because I immediately went, "Oh, there's a well here. I guess there's probably something in the well that you can interact." Because I remember that one of the first levels of Thief, one of the best things you can do is you can go underneath the castle through the well, and it was like one of the best ways to go in. I was like, I wonder what's in the well, Tony. Turns out in the well, there's a terrifying fish creature that will immediately attack you. I was like, oh, I wonder what's down here, and then immediately I was like, oh god, what the fuck is in the well? Which I was like, this is the perfect way to, do like immersive, like, the thing about the original Thief is you can go back and play it now. It is fucking terrifying a lot of the time because you are just constantly by yourself in these big empty areas and nothing in them, and then suddenly, like, as soon as you see something, you're like, Jesus Christ, I can't believe something's actually here with me.
Yeah.
But yeah, this game does a really good job of atmosphere. It does a really good job of making an intriguing like castle to go and explore. It's a good, fun Thief-like game. My only issue I had was you save by going to those beds, but if you die, you respawn at those beds. One issue I had was when I respawned, I respawned with no items, which I guess they're trying to punish you for. They don't want you to be able to just get back all the stuff you had immediately, sort of thing. I don't know if it just disappears or you drop at your corpse, because I hadn't been able to get to a bed to save in a long time. My only issue is the game starts you with this infinite torch sort of thing that you can turn on and off as much as you like.
Did you lose
yeah, so when I died I lost this, and a lot of the game is like pitch black. So I was like, well, F me, like I can't continue because I can't see anything. I feel like maybe you should spawn with the infinite torch if you're going to punish people by removing the inventory.
I can't remember what game it was, but I saw when it's like you get to choose, like you have one item you can bring back with you, and it's like you have to choose. Like I feel like maybe a system like that might be worth investigating. I don't know. But yeah, I guess the torch you just always have.
Agree to agree. But yeah, that's Neverlooted Dungeon. Oh, there's the mantle system. But yeah, Neverlooted Dungeon. That was an interesting one. Next up, Tony, we have another Szymanski game. Okay, Tony, have you ever played the original Harry Potter games? Because if you haven't, this is going to be very confusing for you. Obviously, you look at this and you're like, "This is."
A little bit, but
okay. So I have played the shit out of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone as a kid. And
you played a lot of it, okay. Right.
It's an incredibly nostalgic game for me. I've played that game so much, and playing this, I was like, did somebody fucking demake Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone? Because this is like those original Harry Potter games, which you would go around a castle and you would randomly collect jelly beans for no reason. Every character would say random shit to you for no reason. You would, go around and you would go, flipendo, flipendo, flipendo. You would spam that one annoying spell over and over again. And yeah, so
you go underground the dungeon for no reason. And it's like, why am I here? Like, I'm just late for class.
But look at the jump. Look at the jumping is so perfect to how the jumping was in those janky fucking Harry Potter games.
Yeah.
So this is Secret Agent Wizard Boy and the International Crime Syndicate. Oh, this spawns a trampoline, by the way, if you hit that secret button.
I am Frog. Blop, blop, blop.
I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? Okay, so I immediately die, right? And I'm like, okay, what's going on? And it's like Tuesday, 6 days left. And I'm like, so this game's on a calendar system. And Tony, I said, oh, we're going to be talking about a Szymanski game and another Szymanski game. Did you know that David Szymanski's brothers also make video games?
No, what? Okay.
So they also make... do you remember... It's a game... Do you remember the Puppet survival horror game? Like the Puppet Resident Evil game?
Yeah, vaguely.
My Friendly Neighborhood is made by John Szymanski and Evan Szymanski, which are... the brothers of David, and they were like people keep saying we should work on a game together, David and his brothers. And we were like, okay, we're going to finally work on a game together. And it turns out it's a fucking Harry Potter, OG Harry Potter shitpost, from what I can tell. I like how you can just start attacking people and they're just like fight you back.
You get killed.
Yeah, and then that resets. Oh, Tony, when I started this game, it was like, do you want to start? It was like, this is a multiplayer game. I went to pick up the collectible and it just immediately fucking murdered me. And I'm just like, I have no idea what's going on in this game.
You're supposed to use the time stop spell.
I felt, because I played this through a week because I kept fucking dying, but I kept exploring. And I was like, I feel like this game would be a lot more fun if you had like a bunch of people and multiplayer together and you went and explored it. But I love how like there's a random statue in the middle of the castle, and I'm like, and there's a secret button behind it, and I'm like, this is so accurate to how I remember those games. Like, this is exactly what would happen in those games.
Yeah. Just random. Yeah, it was nonsensical. I do remember that.
Like this.
Yeah, the stairs don't move.
So from what I could tell from the so it's called Secret Agent Wizard. So you seem to be like dressed in a secret agent gear at some point, and also I figured out that if you go to some of like the house rooms, you can learn different spells. So I'm guessing there's some sort of like Alohomora spell where you can open certain doors, and there's like hidden switches and stuff like that. I unlocked a spell that let me levitate stuff. So I'm like, oh, maybe that's part of like a puzzle that I need to solve. Like, I'm guessing the idea of the game is you have a week to try and get through, like, it's almost like a roguelike version of Harry Potter. It's like you have a week to try and figure out what the hell is going on in this, this castle, this magic castle.
Is it not more like a Metroidvania in a way, but like you've got a time limit? It's
kind of like Dead Rising, I would say.
Yeah.
You have like a limited amount of time to try and figure out what's going on.
Call that type of game?
This might come under my new favorite category, Metroidvania, where
maybe
content is more locked off by knowledge.
Yeah, because the same.
Also,
the same map, right?
I've got this spell still, which is nice. That if you get a spell earlier in the week, you get to keep it later if you die. I remember in those like original Harry Potter games, when you learned a spell, you would have to like slowly trace over the spell's image. Like for Flipendo, you would have to like draw a circle with your mouse, and if you went out of the lines, it would be like, nope, you got 95% correct. Try again. And it was just like, it was so, but like. I'm like 100% sure that the Szymanski brothers played those janky Harry Potter games when they were kids, because these are so like accurate to how I remember that. And it's funny like me playing these because I have nostalgia for that sort of game, but I wonder how interesting this would be to somebody who has no nostalgia for those sort of games, because this is definitely feels like a video game shitpost is how I would describe
seems like
it.
Refined jank as a shitpost. I feel like this would be funny if you didn't you can I think you can immediately see it's Harry Potter even if you haven't played those games.
Oh, I also downloaded and tried to play a game called Popucum, which was like a co-op platformer, like almost like what the Inkling thing's called, Squid thing from Nintendo. What are they called? What is that series called? Splatoon. That's what it's called. Splatoon sort of game. And I was like, oh, I'll play this because it said it was a co-op game. And I was like, well, I'll just play a single player. I loaded it up. And it's like, no, the demo, you have to play it co-op. There is no option to play a single player. So I guess, if you're going to play that Popucum game, the only option was to like play it local co-op or find somebody online. And I was like, okay, I guess I won't play this. So I did try and play that game because I thought it looked interesting, but I ultimately didn't play it because I didn't have anyone to play it with. So I was like, okay, maybe I'll check this out later. Feels strange to have like a game that requires co-op. Like you don't like almost all games have a single player, but I guess like the game's designed around co-op puzzles, maybe. So
if it's,
I just thought it looked like it would probably have like a single player mode as well.
Right.
But yeah, let's talk about the next game, which is Trip. And yep, this is a real fucking trip.
Okay, it's in the name.
Yeah. So basically, the concept of this is you walk around on a train having conversations with people, and then you go to the next carriage, and it's the same people, but they keep changing. There's something going on in this game, and based on the demo, I couldn't tell you what that is, but it definitely leads you down a path of like trying to figure out. And I feel like these types of games that are heavy walking sim narrative games, they really are going to rely on how interesting the dialogue and how like interesting 100%. Like the actual world itself is. So far, I think it seems kind of interesting. My only issue is that the demo was really short, so I really have no idea if this is something I'm going to be interested in based on the demo.
Yeah, so you say it's not long enough to like know if it's an interesting concept. Or
it definitely get like I played the entirety of the demo and it was 8 minutes long. So
okay.
I definitely think there's something interesting in here. Like I'll just go ahead and skip ahead to show you some stuff.
Let's say this is like necessarily a bad thing, but it might be like too short, for example. But like, do you think that's indicative of the length of the full game, or just like they don't want to show?
I don't know. I think they're trying to be like, look, this game is going to be more about just having conversations with people and interacting, and then there's something larger going on which gets hinted to massively in the demo, and then it sort of ends. But I feel like it wasn't enough of a slice to be like, what's going on? And I was like, there's a button that only exists in the mirror. What if I try and push that in the real world? And that's when shit just like starts to hit the fan. Like there was just something. I love stuff like this where it's like really subtle stuff where I'm like, I wonder if this button like actually exists and I can hit it, and it's like, oh, now the game starts to open up. But it's like this for like a couple of minutes, and it's like the idea of the game is it feels like you're exploring like an engine of a game almost. I don't know like how deep it's going to go into that, whether there'll be like out of game stuff, but it starts to become more like dark and twisted, and there's intrigue, but I'm very confused with this one. I'm not really sure where it's going, but I'm interested enough to give it another look, when this comes out.
Yeah. We didn't see that button though.
Yeah, I don't know what happens if you just keep looping. I pressed the button. So I was like, because I think that's really cool game design to be like, there was nothing that said, hey, you need to, go and press a button in the mirror. I just looked in the mirror and said, why is there a button in the mirror that only exists in the mirror? That's really interesting. And they're going into this like weird, almost like liminal horror sort of stuff. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting stuff. Give me more of this. But I don't know how much is going to be in the actual game because it's so short. So I'm like, I wonder if the game is also short. We'll have to wait and see.
I got a lot to say in it, sure. I guess it's not a problem.
Yeah.
Or it's really interesting, but yeah.
But yeah, Tony, you can see why some of these games I'm like, you cannot categorize. How do you categorize a demake shit post of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone? How do you categorize a fucking surreal train mystery acid trip? Like, I don't know.
Or building relationships.
Yeah.
Or, something like, it's this, but then it doesn't go with anything else, and then it's just absolute shit posts.
But yeah, this Steam Next Fest, I didn't go insane. Usually I play about 30 demos, and I feel like that is a lot of fucking demos. This time I just picked a bunch I was interested in and then didn't really go too much out my way to download any more. I played about 15 demos this time, so about half as much, and I felt like the quality of the demos was a lot better. That I sort of sat back a bit more and was like, what are people checking out? What should I look into?
More curated.
Yeah. rather than just like literally clicking on anything. And then we're going to be doing like a specific video on the favorites this time, so there won't be a link. So they won't be in the subcategories, but if you're interested to see what I think about my favorite demos of the Next Fest, they will specifically be in a favorites video, so make sure to check out the favorites video. Because there's 3 games I played that I was like, oh, these are really interesting. Definitely look at these ones. But I think that's the end of what I was looking at. Yeah, that's the end.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
In the next time.